Welcome back. The Bulls and Bears are all here, and joining us now, Peter Schiff, president of Euro-Pacific Capital. You know, there's lots of optimism about the housing market in 2007. Many experts have called the bottom. But Peter, you say interest rates going higher at 07 means what to home prices?
Well, anyone calling the bottom in the housing market, including Alan Greenspan, it's just wishful thinking. I mean, interest rates are one of the problems for the housing market, and they're going a lot higher. See, the problem is interest rates, like all prices, are determined by supply and demand. In America, we've got lots of demand. Everybody is borrowing money. The problem is nobody is saving it. So our domestic pool of savings is very shallow. Now, we've been able to borrow a lot of money from abroad. They save a lot, particularly in Asia.
So they're going up, and you think that's going to kill the housing market. But, Charles, actually, interest rates are going down. Mortgages are, you know,
interest rates are going down. I got to tell you, we saw the CPI number this week on inflation.
The inflation number.
The economy is stronger than everyone thought it would be. The U.S. economy is not going to go off a cliff. The Fed might be able to slow the housing market down, but I think home prices are going to be a big time next year. So I disagree 100% with
in fact, the U.S. economy is not strong. All we're doing is borrowing money from abroad to pay for
Hold on. We're not going to get into that now. All right. What do you think about this link between rates and housing, Gary B?
Is there a gap? Is there a gap, Gary?
Is there a gap there?
No, I'll tell you what, Brenda, I don't think there is a link between the rates and housing. It depends on what you're talking about. If you're talking about new home sales, existing home sales, I'm talking about median home prices. It's like a freight train. They just keep going up. They went up through the 70s. They went up through the 80s. The only thing that derails the housing market, Brenda, is high unemployment. We don't have that right now.
We don't have it yet.
As far as Peter's talking about, yeah, I've heard this. People aren't saving, and yet, as we discussed on the first segment, household net worth, median net worth is at an all-time high, inflation adjusted. So I don't know where that comes from.
That net worth is all these phony inflated housing prices. Once housing prices start to come back down, the net worth is gone, but all the mortgages are still there.
Tobin?
Peter, this is very good for selling newsletters, and I happen to be in the newsletter business, so we should talk after the show. But this is bunk for two reasons. Number one, as we all said, if you said, geez, American country doesn't save enough money, 80s, 90s, 80s, 70s, you can say it anytime. 1880. Yeah. We are a country that imports excess capital because other countries are bad users of capital. We're the best users of capital. That's why
we're not using capital. We're destroying it. All we're doing is consuming.
Peter, just start selling the dried foods.
Okay.
Would you? Come on.
Scott.
Of course there's a link between interest rates and housing. But if rates go up, it could slow housing. It won't kill it. Housing is bumping along the bottom. It is bottoming. That's the key. But interest rates are remarkably low historically and remarkably stable. And my guess is that they will be for the next several years.
You guys sound like the people who were calling for the bottom in the NASDAQ when it was at 4,000.
Hey, Peter.
Yeah.
You want to come back on the show?
No, we appreciate having another point of view. And Pat, I want to ask you yours.
As painful as it is to agree with Scott, he does bring up a good point that rates are low at an absolute level, and it's the absolute level of rates that determines affordability more than anything else. So absent a massive, 150 basis point, 1.5 percentage point spike in mortgage rates, I don't think that's what's going to affect the housing market. The larger issue is the inventory overhang. Too many houses got built because the builders were assuming demand would go up at too high a rate. I mean, that's what's holding things down.
And not only that, a big factor is going to be the reemergence of lending standards, which have been completely absent for the last few years. So,
that is true.
All right. Thank you so much. And we all have something to worry about if Tobin's determining who's on this show from now on. Thanks, Scott.